Grandmother Qua. Originally told by R.J. Olker and written by Chris Woodyard. I borrowed a voice-activated tape recorder from a friend in the summer of 1992. I wanted to set it at my bedside in hopes of catching myself talking in my sleep. Having never used a recorder of this type, I decided to practice with it a little. I took it outside early in the morning so as not to be disturbed. I sat on my front porch, which is surrounded by a heavy growth of trees. There were no noises except the birds chirping. After about 20 minutes, I took the recorder back inside and played it back. Beautiful bird songs came from the tiny speaker. Then there was a pause, followed by the whispered words, "Bless Grandmother Qua." I had a little trouble understanding these words at first, so I changed the speed to slow and replayed the tape. At this speed, there were no words, only what sounded like a breath of air being slowly blown out. I was completely puzzled by this phenomenon. I played the tape for several friends who were just as bewildered as I was. When my married daughter came to visit a few days later, I played it for her. After hearing it, she sat in shocked silence for a moment and then told me, "Mom, Chuck," her husband, had a great-grandmother named Qua. She was a Cherokee Indian medicine woman. Her tribal outfit was handed down through the family, and Chuck's dad has it now. I took the tape to my daughter's in-laws' home and played it for them. They were obviously shaken. They showed me a very old picture of Grandmother Qua, which they always kept in their basement. They never displayed it because her eyes were too spooky to look at. None of them knew Grandmother Qua's last name. Why I got this message? I guess I'll never know. But the story doesn't quite end there. Everyone was so unnerved by the tape that we decided to tape over it. On playback, our conversation is heard clearly, followed by a pause, and then the original message from Grandmother Qua. It wouldn't erase. The Haunted Trunk, originally told by Judy, written by Chris Woodyard. Around 1971, Judy and her husband Jim purchased an old immigrant trunk from an antique dealer in Pleasant Hill, Ohio. It was held together with iron strap hinges, had a domed lid made of 3 individual boards, and it was big enough to hide a man. It dated from 1720 to 1740 and was painted with faded red buttermilk paint. When the family moved to an 1854 brick house in Champaign County, they cleaned up the trunk and put it in the family room. Immediately, Judy found herself inexplicably terrified of certain rooms at night, certain that an intruder was in the house. Judy's mother, who is blind, came for a visit and complained of Judy walking around all night, up and down the hall and stairs. Then, when Judy returned from an errand, she found her mother with her back pressed up against the door. As a joke, she touched her mother's arm and said, "Boo." My mother jumped straight up. She had felt a presence going up the stairs. She said to it, "In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, get thee hence." The menacing presence forced her back down the stairs, Judy said. Jim's sister also asked why Jim kept going up and down the steps all night. She saw a very tall, dark-bearded man in old-fashioned clothes. Young daughter Beth saw him too. To the children, he seemed very solid, very real, and very mean. When Beth saw him striding down the hall towards her, she ran to the bathroom, crawled behind the toilet, and screamed. After Jim's sister refused to visit any more, Judy called in the neighborhood White Witch. The woman brought in a silver needle suspended from a tripod, which she placed on different pieces of furniture. It didn't react to anything until she put it on the trunk. The needle quivered, then went in a circle. The woman asked questions, and the needle moved, one way for yes, another direction for no. According to the oracle, there were two people associated with the trunk, a man and a girl. The girl had brought the trunk from Scotland when she eloped with her lover. Her father followed the couple, killed his daughter, and then himself. His violent spirit couldn't rest. Judy asked the antiques dealer if they knew any history of the trunk. The answer came back swiftly. An ancestor of the original owners had brought the trunk from Scotland, they said, and according to family legend, she had been murdered. Jim was skeptical. He moved the trunk to the foot of Brian's bed. Then Brian said that he saw the menacing tall man at night, that the man picked him up. Finally, since she couldn't stand to destroy the trunk, Judy sold it to a friend who laughed at the idea of ghosts. The friend died shortly afterwards, and when her husband sold the trunk, Judy lost track of it. So, if you find a coffin-sized trunk painted a faded red at a bargain price, let the buyer beware. You might be buying a murderer. In the Hall of the Mountain Ghost, written by Chris Woodyard. Rogues Hollow used to be known as the toughest damn spot in the United States. 5 miles south of Doylestown, it was a rough coal mining town full of saloons and gambling dens. The land beneath was honeycombed with mine shafts. It was said that you could easily walk the 7 miles from Clinton to Hometown underground. Rogues Hollow was home to many spooks, including Peg Leg Pete, the one-legged wagon driver, the headless horse who haunted the Ghost Oak, and giant snakes. Even the mines were haunted. It had been storming all day, but Frank Herwick, a saloon keeper who dug coal on the side, ignored the distant rumble of thunder as he shoveled coal into a car. It was heavy work, and he paused for a moment to wipe the sweat out of his eyes. Suddenly, the dimness of the mine was turned into blazing day. Lightning zipped along the iron rails into the gallery where he was working, writhing in snaky rivulets along the floor. Then he saw the ghost. The glowing white blob was just standing there. Then it glided forward from the coalface. Suddenly, all of his picks and shovels began to dance. Picks rocked madly on their curved heads like demented rocking chairs. The shovels wobbled and spun. The mine cars swayed back and forth while the coal was juggled by invisible hands. The ghost glided back and forth, watching. Another lightning bolt sizzled down the tracks, and there was a thunderous explosion as if the mountain were coming down. Herwick did the only sensible thing. He ran, and he never went back. He was happy to turn the lease of the mine over to someone who didn't believe in ghosts. Today the mines of Rogues Hollow are abandoned by all but the shadowy figures of ghostly miners, still on the job. The Sunbathing Spirit of Schwarz Castle. Written by Woodyard. Schwarz Castle stands like a watchtower on the Rhine, its 5-story tower dominating the 3rd Street entrance to German Village. The castle was built in the mid-1800s by Frederick William Schwarz, a wealthy German immigrant. He owned an apothecary shop on Main Street, and nothing but the best was good enough for his bride-to-be, who remained in Germany while the house was being built. When the mansion was almost finished, Schwarz got a Dear Frederick letter from his fiancée. After that, Schwarz turned eccentric and reclusive, adding secret rooms and passageways, including 5 levels of basement to the castle, sharing the castle with his 2 unmarried sisters and his widowed mother. He became a vegetarian, drank only rainwater, let his hair grow long, wore only wool next to his skin, jogged around the block in his bare feet 365 days a year, and sunbathed nude on the top of the turret. Through the window of the tower, the ladder he climbed is still visible. Reportedly, a man hung himself in one of the basements. After the castle was turned into apartments in the 1970s, 2 brothers argued over whether one of them was too drunk to drive. The drunken brother stabbed the other to death in a 2nd-floor apartment. Some say you can still hear them quarreling. Schwarz himself died in 1914, and it has been reported that his ghost can be seen looking out of a 2nd-floor window, or white hair flying madly in the wind, climbing the ladder to the tower where he still sunbathes the naked and the dead. Hi everyone. Thank you again for joining me on this trip through one of my favorite book series of true supernatural stories. The stories you've heard tonight come from Haunted Ohio Volume 3 by Woodyard. I mentioned in a previous video that I once had the pleasure of meeting Woodyard at a book signing event. Well, it was for Haunted Ohio 3, and I still have the autographed copy of the book, and it's what I read the stories from tonight. If you enjoy these stories, I recommend that you go out and buy the books. They can be found on Amazon, or if you live in the great state of Ohio, at just about any bookstore. Please do your part to support the author who gave us these great stories. And if you would like to support me and my channel, please consider going to my links and purchasing a mini, becoming a channel member or patron, or even leaving a one-time donation on PayPal. Links are in the description. Please be sure to like and comment to let me know how you feel about this video and this series, as I would like to continue my ghost stories, but only if the audience agrees. Be sure to subscribe if you have not already. Our goal for this year is 1,000 subscribers, and our goal for the month is to reach 800. At the time of recording, we are very close to meeting our monthly goal. Remember, if we reach 800 subscribers by the end of May, I will not only give away an anime figure, but also one of my custom not safe for work miniatures. Again, I hope you enjoyed this content, and I thank you for joining me today. Until next time, I'm Mr. Sean. This is Chimera Miniatures, and I sincerely hope that you alpha great day, and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bless Grandmother Quah.